This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. What's something you'd love to learn? As an adult, do you make time to learn new things as often as you'd like, or is that lost in childhood? Kids are always learning and growing, but as adults, sometimes we lose that curiosity. With having to balance school, social life, and family, things tend to speed up really quickly in September, sometimes leaving me stressed or anxious. Therapy could be really beneficial, allowing you to slow down and take a step back. It's helpful for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Rediscover your curiosity with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/THPN today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/THPN. We're back for part two. We're going to be talking about the Metro Division right now. Obviously, the Atlantic is a little bit more competitive, but it doesn't change the fact that there is a lot going on in the Metro for the upcoming season. It always ends up being some sort of combination of random teams, like Philly kind of, had a really good start to the season and fell off a cliff. So it will be an interesting season, no doubt about that. Liam, I'll let you take the reins here to start it off. I started off with the Atlantic, so you could start off with the Metro.
Yeah, all right. Let's start off. Number 8, I've got the Columbus Blue Jackets. They're a young core, still developing, whether it's Fantilli, Sillinger. They drafted Lindstrom and Kent Johnson coming in, Juracek, all these young guys. Goalies have always been an issue there. Defense still a bit questionable, losing out Line this year. They don't really have that superstar forward, so it's going to take time for them to develop, and I think that's the reason why they're slotted in the 8th seed.
Yeah, I have the exact same thing here, Liam. Obviously, a nice addition to go out and get Sean Monahan, who signed with the Jackets this past offseason. Another year for Kent Johnston, I think, will be good, but I just don't think that they're in a place to compete, let alone be have a relevant season, which kind of sucks, especially after drafting Fantilli and Lindstrom. Lindstrom obviously presumably won't be playing with the Jackets this season, and I think rightfully so. But I think that this is going to be a really big stepping stone season for the Jackets. Also, let's not forget they went out and got Jordan Harris in exchange for Line. So he'll play, I'm sure, some pretty somewhat significant minutes, maybe second, third pairing on that left side. So I think this will be a wait and see type of season for the Jackets this year.
They've got a good pipeline.
That's for sure. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I'll take it away with number 7. I've got the Philadelphia Flyers. Last year, kind of, they overproduced. They did better than everyone thought, but I don't think that'll be the case this year, even though they're getting Matvei Michkov, who both of us really do like as a prospect and is one of the most popular prospects in the NHL. But Philly overall, just losing Carter Hart to, that situation kind of hurts their tandem. They've got a young goalie. It's Fedotov and is it Sandstrom, the other one? I think so. Yeah. So again, 2 guys who are unproven in the NHL. D-core overall not great. A couple vets, but again, there's guys like Cam York who are younger, probably their best defenseman, and I'm missing one. There's another D-man.
Yeah, they've got Travis Sanheim, who had a pretty good season last
Sanheim.
year, and Jamie Drysdale as well on the right side.
Yeah, Drysdale. So again, couple young guys, couple vet guys, but nothing insane. And then on the forward core, I just don't see how they improve this offseason other than having Michkov. So I like Travis Konechny, but other than that, it's kind of just a bunch of guys there. There's Farabee, Frost. All these guys are, they could be top 6 guys, but also can be a little bit inconsistent at times.
Yeah, I think if there's one thing that I will note is that they are at 7 for me, but I do think that they're, how do I put this? They're better than deserving to be 7, and I'll explain why. I just think I'm a big fan of Forrester, Tyson Forrester. I think he took a really big step last season. Michkov coming in, you mentioned. Konechny, another season under his belt. Tippett getting really comfortable in Philly. I'm very concerned about their center depth, right? Sean Couturier, obviously, after injury, took a really large step back. And Frost, obviously, taking a step forward, but how big of a step forward is he going to take this season? Their depth isn't horrible. The decor, like you said, is a mix of young and a I don't even know what to call it. I mean, Rasmus Ristolainen
Yeah.
on the right D on the third line. I just don't know exactly what to expect, but it wouldn't surprise me completely if, like last season, they went on these runs where they overperform because they're a young team that's playing together with that confidence. So that wouldn't surprise me
Yeah.
all too much.
Number 6 here, I've got the Pittsburgh Penguins. So Sidney Crosby just signed that big deal. He's that team, but I think this team is just a little too old. Malkin, Letang, Erik Karlsson, these guys are good players, but they struggled last season. That power play one was like the worst it's been in 25 years or something since Crosby's been there. So like 15 years, 18 years. So look, they were due to regress. I don't think Tristan Jarry's the answer in net, but they made some interesting bottom six ads, whether it's Kevin Hayes, whether it's Beauvillier, and they made that trade for Rutger McGroarty, who he could be a reason why they end up doing better. So it's all going to depend on that combination with Michael Bunting as well coming in towards the end of the year. So we'll see how the Penguins do. I just think the problem is they're an old team, and that usually doesn't help throughout the regular season.
No, that's very, very fair. Very fair. I think that's a fair ranking, except this is where we differ for the first time in the Metro, Liam. I have the New York Islanders. Look, I'll be honest with you. And again, they're kind of like the Metro version of the Bruins, where I can continue to discount them. I continue to write them off. And somehow they always end up in a playoff spot or right on the brink of a playoff spot. Granted, they never really seem to do much damage in the playoffs except for a few years back now. But I think that obviously, like, do they even have an existing window? Like, what they're always, to me, they're the definition of mid. Like, they're always in the middle, always in the middle. And it's unfortunate for guys like Barzell and Horvat and Noah Dobson and Sorokin, right? Like, those guys are pillar pieces that would be incredible on any other team that would allow them to be unlocked offensively. Barzell obviously benefited a lot from having Bo Horvat as his center, just like he did with Tavares in his rookie season. And Dobson's taken some massive steps. But I look at the rest of this lineup, Liam, and I'm just not impressed. Duclair is going to be their first line left wing. Anders Lee, Maxim Tsiplakov. I don't know if I said that properly, but he's going to make a
Yeah.
jump there. Nelson Palmieri. Like, it's just a lot of rinse and repeat for me. And I know they got a little bit more exciting because of the fact that Patrick Watt is their coach, but I just don't know if they could be any better than the teams ahead of them that I have, at least.
They're just that fly on the wall that doesn't go away and just
Yeah.
doesn't leave the room. They're just always there, and you can't write. I just feel like, and you'll see my standings in a few minutes, but I just don't know like why they're not bad. Like they just seem like the team that would be bad, but they're not bad. But anyways, I'll get to that. In number 5 here, the 5th position, I've got the Washington Capitals. So they're making a bit of a jump in my standings here. Obviously, again, it's an older team, but I think the offseason moves kind of, well, again, I don't have them making the playoffs, but I think they've made some positive offseason moves. And if they didn't do that, they would probably be lower in my standings. But I think getting a guy like Logan Thompson was their best add. And then why not add Jacob Chikrin, one of the best defensemen on the market. So again, also adding a guy like Pierre-Luc Dubois, who could take a step in the right direction, which could be another reason why they finish even higher. But overall, not making the playoffs for me, sitting right outside there. I think last year was a bit of a fluke that they got in like at minus 35 on the season. So I like some of the guys there. I just don't think they're that deep of a team that can make a playoff push.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I just really, and I'll get to that when I start talking about the Caps, because I have them a little higher. So I'll save my comments there. I'll give you my 5 spot now. Pittsburgh Penguins. You had them in the 6 spot. I have them in the 5 spot. The reason being is that as long as Crosby's around, in my opinion, I think that they have a chance to somewhat be competitive / compete. I think the biggest thing here is that Crosby's back. And as long as he's on this team, I just look, like you said, the depth that they added, was it impressive? No, not really. But I could see them being just a tad more competitive than they were last year, I guess you could say. I mean, they go out and get Matt Grzelcyk, Sebastian Aho, the defenseman Sebastian Aho. I think there are better seasons to come for Tristan Jarry, including this upcoming season. Look, I don't know if he's an incredible goalie, but I think he's better than the stats that he put up last year. That's for sure. Like you said, Rucker McGroarty, a solid 1-for-1 for Braden Yeager. So go and get Cody Glass, Kevin Hayes. Look, I know I'm just repeating kind of what you said, but the truth is that it's more because I dislike the Isles more. It's more that I dislike the Isles than I actually like Pittsburgh. It's not
Yeah,
necessarily
that's
because I
fair.
like Pittsburgh. So
Well, I
we'll
think
leave it at that.
sorry to interrupt if
No,
I
you're
did,
good.
but I think last year also a huge issue with them was their bottom six did nothing. Like it took them like 10 games for them to get a bottom six goal scorer. So
Yeah, that's
I
true
feel
too.
like Dubas going out and getting like four bottom six guys maybe could work out. I don't know, maybe it backfires, but
For cheap
I
too, right?
yeah, like they added like Lazard and like you said, Glass, Hayes, all these guys, have produced in a bit in a bottom six role. So maybe that helps, maybe it doesn't. We'll see in the future.
Yeah.
Um, for my fourth position, I have the New York Islanders. Um, you mentioned a lot of the things they do. I don't know how I say I love this, but I think they have a really strong D core with Pulak, Pellick, Dobson. They did lose Sebastian, who I do like. I think he played a strong role, but they are solid back there, and then with a great goalie as well. I know Sorokin had off-season back surgery, and we'll see what's going to happen with him. But when he's at his best, he's a top three goalie in the NHL. So having a great decor, having an amazing goalie, that will get you somewhere. And having a guy like Barzal who's able to put up 80 points, which he showed last year, and then Bo Horvat, Brock Nelson, and maybe a couple other guys step up. I know every year we talk about Oliver Wahlstrom, but it just hasn't seemed to work out. But drafting a guy like Cole Eiserman, maybe he takes a step. He's not going to make the roster this year, I assume, but whether that's next year, we'll see. I honestly like the Duclair ad. I know he's going to be playing a first line role, but like who was it last year playing a first line role? I don't think it can get that much worse. Like you
It's
have
probably like
Kyle
Anders
Palm.
Lee last year.
Yeah, I don't even know. And like having Kyle Palmieri, it's like it's a vet team, and there's like that slight mix of young slash middle aged guys that are good hockey players, but they're just like a team that doesn't go away, and they're so boring. Most boring NHL team in the NHL. If you gave me free tickets to go watch the Canadiens versus the Islanders, I'd probably say no because they're the worst team to watch in the NHL, and I can't stand them. But I have them, unfortunately, potentially making the playoffs, whether it's in the wild card spot or maybe just missing out because 5 Atlantic teams make it in. But for now, they're my fourth position.
Let's just say that without Barzell, I I, I would not care to tune in at all. I mean, there are a
Imagine
couple other guys that I like, but Barzell's the most electric guy on the team.
Yeah, unreal. Like we've been big Barzal guys for a while. The mini
Yeah.
McKinnon.
I'll move on to my fourth spot. This is what we've differentiated a bit here, which is fun. I have the Washington Capitals. Liam, I'll tell you why I like them as opposed to you told me why you had them where you had them. I'll explain why I have them at 4. Outside looking in still, but still potential to be in that wild card spot. I like them because I really liked what they did at the end of the season. I liked the way that they pushed. I liked the way that they almost squeaked into the playoffs, and I liked the
They did squeak
performances.
in.
You're right, they did, and they lost. Sorry, so they just squeaked in. They obviously got bounced, which is unfortunate, and they made it in over the Detroit Red Wings, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Correct, but nonetheless, my point is that I really like the way that Hendrix Lapierre played down the stretch. Connor McMichael played down the stretch. They add Dubois, Mangiapane, which is also solid. Taylor Radish as well. And I don't want to, and honestly, I think that there is the possibility that at some point, depending on how competitive they actually are, that at the end of the Boston College season, why am I blanking on his name right now?
Ryan Leonard.
Thank you. Ryan Leonard actually potentially makes an appearance on the squad. They tried to get him for last year's playoff run. He said no, wanted to go back to BC. But I think that this year there is that possibility. And I don't think that you can ignore how good of a defenseman Jacob Chikrin is just because he was bad in Ottawa. And I don't think that they used him right. They had 3 number 1 guys there. They had 3
Yeah.
number 1 guys. Chikrin's a PP1 dude. He's a PP1D man. Obviously, there's John Carlson, but I think Chikrin's going to have a way bigger role on this Caps team. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, and maybe he does take over PP1 because Carlson kind of struggled last year. So Maybe it all depends on like the dynamic of the team. I think they have the pieces there to have a good season. It's just can they execute it correctly? Like I think Logan Thompson's going to be a huge difference maker for them.
Yeah, I think so too. I think so too. I think that's why they could be four. I didn't like their like Darcy Kemper was very inconsistent for them last year.
Yeah.
I don't know how good of a center PLD could be as a number two guy, especially in this offensive scheme. But it doesn't change the fact that they did get better in goal. Like Logan Thompson is a good goalie and he's proven that. So I think that with these additions, these summer additions have been really key to me placing them at four.
Yeah.
NFL Week 1 is here, and a new season means new ways to get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple like picking a player to score a touchdown. George Pickens, Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, these are all players that you can bet on at DraftKings Sportsbook. Ready to do a touchdown dance on your own? Score big with DraftKings Sportsbook, the best place to bet touchdowns. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $250 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 and get 1 month of NFL Plus Premium on us. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over, age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in New Hampshire, Oregon, and Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball. NFL Plus Premium offer available only to new and former NFL Plus subscribers. Additional NFL Plus Premium terms at nfl.com/terms.
That's fair. Number 3, I've got the Carolina Hurricanes. The Carolina Hurricanes traded for Gensel at the deadline, could not re-sign him. Then there was the big drama with Marty Necas, whether he was coming in, staying, or leaving, getting traded, or staying. He ended up signing with the Hurricanes again, so we're going to see how that turns out. I just don't like this team anymore. They're just not as strong as they used to be. They lose Pesci and Shea. They brought in Ghost, who doesn't bring that same defensive presence, and then their bottom six is just kind of weak. Like they lose. I'm kind of blanking on who they lost, but they bring in like Roslovic, and that's kind of I think that was pretty much it. So
William Carrier and Tyson Jost as well, but just
yeah,
to give
like
you a
yeah,
quick
again, I like Will Carey, but again, it's kind of irrelevant to speak about. They're just not as strong as they used to be. They lose Toivo as well, so you lose a lot of big pieces. And then again, the question in net: can Freddie Anderson play more than 20 games a year? Just seems like he can't. And can you rely on Kochetkov, who's still a really young goalie, very promising, but it's just overall, I think we're going to see a bit of a downfall for the Carolina Hurricanes.
I think that their biggest question mark, which is a huge question mark, is going to be their 2C. But I really do like the potential that we will see more of Marty Necas, as especially in that top six role where we always thought that he wasn't getting the necessary usage. I'll move on to my number 3. I have the New Jersey Devils. I was really high on them last year, still pretty high on them, finishing 3rd in the division. I just don't know if this, like, you go out and get Markstrom, awesome. Otherwise, their offensive core stays pretty much identical. Dawson Mercer's still waiting to sign his RFA deal. They add Brendan Dillon. They add Brett Pesci. Good ads. I just don't know how sold I am. Like, I think that this team's production is going to be very, very, not production, success is going to be very, very dependent on Jack Hughes and his health. And if he can be a Hart Trophy finalist or a Hart Trophy candidate for this upcoming season, then there's no doubt in my mind that the New Jersey Devils will be really good. But you're going to have to see another gear from Timo Meier. We're going to have to see another gear from Jesper Bratt. But I do think that they lack the offensive star power. I mean, Nico Hischier is also incredible. But I'm just saying, like, if one of those guys is not living up to expectations like Timo did last year, we saw them and how bad they were. And I just don't know. Like, Dougie Hamilton has never stayed healthy for a full 82 games in his career. Maybe he has, but he hasn't in recent memory. So you're banking on you're banking on a year two, or a year three, technically, Simon Nemitz. Pesci will play big minutes. There's no doubt about that. I know I'm rambling and I'm just speaking and I'm just saying guys, but the truth is that I don't know how you could possibly explain to me that their team on paper is better than the team that they had last year. And last year, granted, they missed Jack Hughes for a ton of games, but you're still going to need everything to kind of fall into place for them to be elite and to live up to expectations, in my opinion.
Yeah, I understand your arguments, but number 2, I have the New Jersey Devils, and I think this team is actually insane. Like, I think the sole reason why they were so bad last year was because of the injuries. They lose Hughes for a quarter of the year. They lose Dougie for the whole season. They don't have a goalie. But now this season, they're coming in with a relatively full bill of health, other than Luke Hughes going to be missing the first few weeks. But Jesper Bratt, point per game guy without Jack Hughes for a quarter of the year. You got Nico Hischier, who's, again, both ways of the ice, absolutely unreal. Timo Meier is going to take that step forward. He showed it towards the end of the year, and they did play a little bit better. But I think Dawson Mercer, too, on an off year, didn't help the case of the Devils. So if everyone plays to the way they should be playing, like they did 2 years ago, this team is going to be a top 3 team in this division. They bring back Thomas Tatar, who played a big role in the success of that team. And then I think they have one of the best decors in the league with Siegenthaler and then Pesci now. When Luke Hughes is healthy, Hamilton and are the former Hab Jonathan Kovacevic going to get a chance to play. And then again, bringing Jacob Markstrom in, I think that's a very well-built team. And I think when they're healthy, they're absolutely amazing. And they beat the Rangers in the playoffs 2 years ago, who were at their best in terms of team on paper. So I think this team has a lot to show, and they're going to bounce back really big.
Like, I want to agree. It's just one of those cases where I don't know what it is. I just, for some reason, there's something that's stopping me from getting behind like, I want to cheer on Jack Hughes and I want them to be successful. And obviously, like you said, last year, injuries is what held them back. But I just think that this team is one of those teams that when everything is clicking, they're top of the league. But the second things go downhill, they are so mediocre. And you can't deny the fact that they have everything on paper to be successful. I think that there's some teams, like the one that I'm about to bring up at the 2 spot, like the Rangers, that even when things aren't going their way, they're still sitting pretty in a good spot in that Metro spot. Like, because they can depend on other components of their team to be successful. Like, I think that the New Jersey Devils are strictly run through Jack Hughes. And without Jack Hughes in their lineup, I think that their team falls significantly. Now you're about to tell me, well, he's healthy, he's here to stay. I agree. But it goes to show that they're not a well-oiled machine like the Bruins are, in a sense. But that's just my take. Like, I don't know.
It's like it was more than Jack Hughes, though. Like, they lost Dougie, who's their number 1 D-man.
I know, but can we
year.
Depend on him being there? Like obviously you can't predict injuries. But
no, you can't.
But you also could, like, if I
got stronger. I find they got stronger, though. Like, adding Markstrom, huge add as a goalie. Bringing in Pesci is an amazing top 4 defenseman add. If Dougie does happen to go down, you're still bringing in a guy who's going to get it done, and it's not a 20-year-old Luke Hughes and a 21-year-old Simon Nemitz playing top 2 roles. And then you have guys like Palat, who won 3 cups or whatever it was, Thomas Tatar, and then even like their bottom 6 is like, it's very strong. Eric Holla, Curtis Lazar, Nate Bastian. Like, I don't see flaws in this lineup, other than the fact that they're injury prone sometimes, and there's a couple guys who have been inconsistent but have shown that they can produce in the past.
No, that's very fair. That's very fair.
But it's a good debate. It's a very good debate.
Because I feel like sometimes, like, so look, let's move to why I have the Rangers where they are, and I'll kind of piggyback off what you said.
Yeah.
I think that the Rangers, like I said, are a very well-oiled machine that have proven that. Let's look at it. Let's exclude playoffs here, because at the end of the day, we're projecting regular season. Regular season team, they are one of the best, if not the best. Last year, correct me if I'm wrong, but they won the President's Trophy. So they know how to put points up on the board. Panarin's an integral part. I think that their top 6 is absolutely stacked, aside from the fact that they did, they were rotating in Capo Caco, Jack Roslovic in that top spot on the right wing, but now they go out and add Riley Smith. Okay, nothing really, like, doesn't really change much for me, because you're going to have a guy another year of Alexis Lafreniere under your belt, who was just absolutely unbelievable last year, regular season and playoffs. So I think that that's one of the reasons that I have them in the 2 spot. decor wise, I don't think you can deny that like you were saying, you think that New Jersey has one of the better decors. I think that the Rangers have one of the better decors with Fox, Lindgren, Miller, Truba, Schneider, Zach Jones on the left, but you get the gist. And Chesty at his best is the best goalie in the league. So what I'm saying, the reason that I have them 2 over the Devils is for the sole reason that when they are at their worst, they're still good and relevant. In the last couple of years, I've never seen a Rangers team that has completely fallen off a cliff to a point where they fall out of a spot, even when they're dealing with injuries. Now, it's not as significant as a Jack Hughes injury, but I'm just saying I think that they're a well-oiled machine that's able to produce despite who they put on the ice.
And for that reason, I have them at number 1.
I was kind of debating with you more on the New Jersey aspect. But yeah.
No, I understand. Yeah, but again, the Rangers, super deep team. I think bringing in Riley Smith could work out. Who knows? They needed a right wing, and they still go and get a left-handed forward. But anyways, they have a great decor, one of the best in the league, and you've Shesterkin in the net. So it's the President's Trophy winning team. They didn't get worse, and I think a couple guys even had down years last year. So whether it's Zib or Kako, but you were going to see another year of Lafreniere, and I think the Rangers are just bound to have another great season.
I like it. I'll give my 1. I mean, obviously, our top 3 is very different. Sorry, not very different. Different in order, same in terms of teams. I don't know. This is so.
How do you have Carolina over the Rangers after all that?
It's so unorthodox for me. So a big reason why I went with Carolina is strictly for the purpose that I've kind of like the Islanders and the Bruins, where I've kind of just consistently wrote them off and somehow they find themselves in a top 3 spot. I think that, and I hate to give them credit, but I think a big reason for their regular season success, and I'm prefacing regular season success, is because of Rod Brindamore. Look, I just think that it really, and look, like, I think that the biggest concern for this team, like you mentioned, and the reason that you have them lower is because of their 2C spot. But I actually look at it as kind of some sort of opportunity for Necas to just be that point per game guy that we know he could be. And I really don't see any flaws in a power play that consists of Svech, Necas, Jarvis, Burns, and Aho, where Burns is interchangeable with a guy like Shane Ghost. Like, all I'm saying is that I think their best players are just so consistent, and they are a well-oiled machine. You can't deny that they're a well-oiled machine even when they go down with injury. Obviously, losing Gensel after having him for the playoff run sucks and is a huge part, and maybe was the cherry on top to that team potentially doing damage in the playoffs. But I just do think, like, when I watched Carolina's decor in the playoffs, I was just stunned at how good it is. Like, I think you could maybe make the case that they have the best decor in the league.
But I really lost half of it. That's the problem.
They lost Pesci, but they replaced it with Ghost and Sean Walker.
They lost Shea too.
They lost Brady Shea, undeniable, but you were never giving him the money that he was offered in Nashville. And at the end of the day, you're still retaining Slavin Burns and Dmitry Orlov and Jalen Chatfield on your third pair right D. All I'm saying is that I still think it's great. It's great. Like, Slavin's one of the better defensemen in the league. And I just think that they bring that beautiful tempo of offensive game and defensive game. And yeah, you could say that there's concerns in the net, but like I said, I'm sticking by my theory for this whole episode is that the teams that are going to reign being successful in the regular season are the ones that are the well-oiled machines, and the ones that, even despite losing players throughout their regular season, are going to be good. And to put that proof in the pudding, Liam, even when Freddie goes down with an injury, Kochetkov steps in and he plays well enough. And even when Kochetkov is out, Ranta did not have a great season last year when he was playing, but he still mustered some wins. So my point is that I'm less scared when these guys go down with injuries. Like I said, concern over KK being the 2C, undeniable. But I just do think that this team has proven to me time and time again that they're better than I give them credit for. And as a result, I think that there's a possibility that they finish 1.
Yeah, it's fair. It's just like when KK doesn't meet the standard that he needs to produce at, who's stepping into that role? Like,
Bradley Nadeau steps up.
No, Bradley but like Nadeau, he's on daily faceoff, he's already in the top 6. So it's such a questionable second line there.
Sure, but we can also both agree that there is a lot of versatility in terms of, okay, now Jack Roslovic steps into that second right wing
Yeah,
spot.
he could
Nate just,
play.
and my point is that you saw the Rangers do that exact same thing. Like Roslovic was in their top 6 for their whole playoff run.
Yeah, that's true. He was good.
So,
It's
and
just
again,
like
yeah,
if I look at this team, I completely understand the argument of being like a well-oiled machine. It's just like if I'm looking at a top 6, do I want the Rangers top 6 or do I want the Hurricanes top 6? I want the
right.
Rangers.
But I don't think, but that's not where. But then
But
again,
then
that's
like
not where we
goalie 2.
limit. Yeah, but yes, you're right. Chesty is the best goalie out of the 3 teams that we mentioned in the top 3. But again, like Carolina has proven to be a regular season team. And again, like
Yeah.
I guess technically I'm making a case for as to why the Rangers would be ahead of Carolina. I just truthfully went with my gut here. I went with my gut.
Fair.
I'm not
That's
going
fair.
based off of a like from a statistic standpoint. I
Yeah.
just think that there's no doubt that Carolina is going to go into this season and expect to be incredibly competitive once again. And if that's the case, then there's no doubt that they finish top 3. And I think that once you're in that top 3, it's a complete toss-up. And I think that, like I said, if I'm telling you that I take out Anderson and replace him with Kochekov, or I take out Kochekov and replace him with someone else, like I just think also if you take out Chesty,
they go down.
They go down. They go down. And I think Carolina just is able to sustain a product more consistently without some of their top guys, whereas the 2 teams below them, in my case, in my opinion, are not. But again, like this is like we could look back on this and Carolina could finish 6th in the division. Like they won't, but they could.
Yeah.
Like
it's fair.
We could be completely wrong. And also we're also projecting this completely with the idea that there's not going to be a single injury. Like
yeah.
It's going to happen.
It's very true. It does happen, and it's impossible to avoid. So after all this, you have the Rangers, Devils, and Hurricanes making the playoffs. Not in that order. I was looking at my standings here, but
correct.
Who is slotting into the wild card slots? Is it going to be 2 Atlantic, 2 Metro, 1 each? What do you think?
Based off what I have here, I think that based off because our top 3 is the same as well, right? In the Atlantic, Panthers, Leafs, Bruins, correct?
Yeah, just not in the same order.
Right. So I think Tampa for sure. Like I say for sure, obviously they took a hit, but I still think that out of in the conference, they're one of the better teams.
Agreed.
And other than that, if I was going with my gut here, I would say the Capitals.
Okay.
Like I don't know why I'm confident in the Capitals, but I am.
No, it's fair. They made good ads. I obviously agree with you with Tampa, but I'm going to have Detroit over any of those Metro teams. So 2 Atlantic wild card spots. I like them better than the Islanders, Caps, and Pittsburgh Penguins.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. I mean, I couldn't because I have Detroit at 6 in the Atlantic, so I can't be putting Montreal over them like that. Like I don't think that they make the playoffs. But yeah, I would say the Caps and the Lightning.
And then one dark horse team to do better than where we rank them, whether it's in the Atlantic or the Metro.
Dark horse team, I think in my opinion, it would be in the Atlantic, and I would have to either be between the Senators and the Sabres, because in my opinion, both teams different roster construction, but similar in terms of where their team is at in terms of like age. And I think that for me, either of those teams could randomly just be good overnight. Like that's the thing. Like the Senators, if they put it all together, you can't deny the talent. And
like they have all the pieces that they should have to be a good
that's what
team.
I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. And the Sabres too, like they still have Tage Thompson. You still have Rasmus Dahlin.
Yeah.
Like those are big names, like JJ Peterka. I mean, like I don't need to list them for you. Like you get it.
Yeah, no, for sure. My dark horse team, give me the Montreal Canadiens. They actually are. My dark horse team. They could be something special. I'm not gonna
lie. Would it surprise me if they were a wild card team? Yes, but it wouldn't be the craziest thing I've ever seen or thought about.
No, it's just I love that there's pressure, obviously being in Montreal and being, one of the most prominent hockey teams in the NHL and the one of the most pressured fan bases. But there's this isn't the year they're supposed to be that good. And if they come out full bill of health. Kirby Dak becomes,
It's so
to what we
contingent
think
on
he
that.
is. Exactly. And Line A, he can be a 50 goal scorer. Like, it's not insane to say that. Even 40, and then Cole Caulfield produced. You can only
Yeah.
dream, but
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
possible. Lane
No, I,
Hudson,
I
come
don't
on.
I don't doubt it. Yeah, Lane Hudson, Calder Trophy, question mark.
Come
But
on. Come on.
look, we'll leave it at that. I think that was fun. I think like the Metro is definitely more up for like we disagreed a bit more, but
Yeah.
again, like I said, in my opinion, looking back at all this, I think we're just gonna look at it and be like, we like something we messed up something
Oh,
like
yeah.
some like because like even last year we had New Jersey ranked really high. Granted, it was because of injury that
Yeah.
it didn't get to where they wanted to be, but like that's all it takes for one other team to move ahead of all these guys. So
Yeah. I want to bring it up really quick just to see, kind of compare. Here, I got it. You had in the Atlantic Toronto, Florida, Buffalo, Tampa, Ottawa, Boston, Detroit, Montreal. So Buffalo was really the only one, and Boston too. And then Metro, you had Devils 1, Carolina 2, Pittsburgh 3, Rangers, Caps, Columbus, Islanders, Flyers. So again, it's crazy. We were so bad last year.
yeah,
And
so
then
bad.
I had Buffalo 3, but Toronto, Tampa, Buffalo, Florida, Boston, Ottawa, Detroit, Montreal. So maybe a little bit better. And then you switch Buffalo and Boston, maybe it's a bit better. And
Yeah.
then the Metro, I did terrible on that one. Devils, Penguins both missed the playoffs. Hurricanes, Rangers, Capitals, not
But
too
see,
bad.
that's what I'm saying. I mean, like, obviously, we're going to speculate and be like, oh, Pittsburgh brings in Eric Carlson in the offseason,
Yeah.
and you add that to Crosby and Malkin and a healthy Jari. Like, it's pure speculation. And there's a lot of people that are going to, comment and be like, there's no way you had that. But at the end of the day, they were probably thinking similar things at the time. So it's just that's just the way it is. And that's truthfully, like I said, a big reason for why my Metro is like weird, because I'm kind of like baking in the factor where like people are writing off Carolina because they look worse on paper. But at the end of the day, would it surprise you completely if they ended up first in the Metro? Like, to
No,
me,
probably
no.
not.
Like, that's my
No.
point.
No,
So
but
I'm
I
trying to,
think, yeah, we have them in like 3 tiers. It's like the Philly, Columbus at the bottom, and then the Isles, Caps, Pens in like that middle
yeah,
spot, and then the three
same
top.
grouping, just different order.
Yeah, exactly. But there's always like there's the Flyers last year who completely surprised everyone, and then again, like everyone wrote Boston off and was thinking Buffalo would be a juggernaut, and it was just the complete opposite. So there's gonna be surprises, and that's just the best part of hockey.
Exactly. So we'll leave it at that for today, guys. It's been a really, really fun episode. We'll track this throughout the season, see where we're at. But we're gonna come back with another episode next week talking about the Central and the Pacific division. So stay tuned for that, and let us know what you guys thought of this episode. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you guys next time.